Hey there everybody, Scotia here with a video that I was definitely not expecting to make at all, let alone anytime soon. And this has pretty much been inspired from a lot of discussion I've seen online following the Street Fighter 6 trailer at the Game Awards the other day. And what you've already probably gathered from the title and the thumbnail is that this is a theory about Marissa that I've seen around a couple times, but I never really put much thought into it because honestly I just thought it was too early to really tell anything. But now that she's been revealed, and now that other people online, which I will get to in a minute in credit, have kind of pointed things out that have made me start to actually believe this theory as well, is that maybe Marissa is actually a member of the secret society or the Illuminati from Street Fighter 3. So while most of the information that I'm going to be sharing in this video is from a Twitter thread by a Twitter user called Santetsuken, I don't believe that this is solely their theory, mainly because I've seen similar thinkings about, Marissa's link possibly to Gill and the Illuminati from other places, outside of Twitter, so this might be their theory, I don't know, but this is pretty much still the person I'm going to be crediting for most of this video. So they basically start off this Twitter thread with something that was pretty obvious, I think, to a lot of people, in that Marissa very clearly shares a couple of moves from Gill and Urien. And I believe that this isn't, I'm not very knowledgeable on fighting styles and stuff like that, but from what I've heard, Gill, Urien and now Marissa share a very similar fighting style called pancration. But what pancration essentially is, it's kind of a mixture of wrestling and boxing, and I believe, according to Wikipedia, it originated from the Greek Olympic Games back in the very, very ancient times, back when it was BC. So for Gill and Urien, this makes a lot of sense because, their designs, especially back in the original Street Fighter 3 games, were very much in line with kind of that ancient Greek Olympic kind of whole thing with the thongs or whatever they're called. So in that sense, it's not surprising for them. But for Marissa, it's very interesting because in the trailer showing off her gameplay, she actually openly does share a couple of moves with Gill and Urien, mainly the quarrel kick and the chop, which I can't remember the name of. So yeah, that alone is very interesting, and that's kind of very telling in the sense that usually when a character shares moves, it is usually because they have some form of a link, whether or not they trained under the same person or they're linked in some way. So already we're off to a good start in terms of trying to link Marissa possibly to Gill and the rest of the secret society, but there is more kind of stuff here and there that we could possibly help to link these two further, so we're going to get into that now. So in terms of other stuff from within the trailer that we can use to possibly help link Marissa to the rest of the society, the other thing that really stands out outside of her, having a very similar fighting style on top of, sharing some of Gill and Urien's moves, is that throughout her kind of demonstration of her moveset and her abilities and her super art, is that Marissa seems to exude a kind of gold related power. And the reason that this is possibly interesting is because of a certain aspect of the Street Fighter lore that is kind of not really well known, and it's a shame because it's honestly one of my favorite aspects of the Street Fighter lore, especially Street Fighter 3 related lore, and that is the 66 secret arts. So for those that don't know, the 66 secret arts are essentially techniques or abilities that certain members of the society master once they have adapted enough of their aura into using a certain element. And we've not seen all 66 of these secret arts in the series, we've only seen about 2, and these are obviously via Gill and Urien. So for Gill, the secret art that he has used, that we've seen him use, is his resurrection, which is one of his super arts that he obviously comes pre-equipped with all 3 when you fight him at the end of an arcade ladder. And the other one that we've seen is Urien's Aegis Reflector, and also in general kind of his ability to use a metallic or thunder aura in his moveset or in his abilities. So the reason that this is noteworthy in regards to Marissa is because of all the gold attacks that she uses in her moveset and her super art, and based off the description I used in terms of a person acquiring a secret art by mastering a certain element, and I think it is perfectly possible that Marissa's use of gold and using the gold element or the aura around her in some of her moves, where you see a gold aura around her body, and this could very well be another example of one of the 66 secret arts. And the only thing about the 66 secret arts is that they are only taught or mastered within the secret society. So by that logic, if this is indeed a secret art that we're witnessing via Marissa and her gold abilities, then she should theoretically be a member of the secret society. And I know it's a lot of like ifs and maybes and all that, but I think what helps kind of like cement this, or at least, you know, give it some credence, is that combined with her using the same fighting style as Gill and Urien, and even using some of her moves, just having this aura about her where you see this gold kind of enveloping over her fists and, you know, exuding from her body or surrounding her body like an aura. To me, it just kind of, it just reminds me of Urien's abilities, like the Aegis Reflector and the metallic thunder aura around him. To me, it feels very similar. So this next part is kind of something that I think needs a bit more of an open mind. Like, there's nothing concrete about this. This is more theory based than rather kind of like pointing out clues or evidence or something like that. And this is using Marissa's bio from the website to kind of maybe connect some dots that may not actually be there, but I think they're worth noting in the off chance that, you know, this all actually lines up and ends up being correct. So, Marissa's bio basically reads as this: an up-and-coming jewellery designer from Italy who claims ancestry to ancient Greek warriors. As a child, she was inspired by a vision of the Colosseum in its prime. Today, she seeks glory with a smile and an eye for beauty. So, in my opinion, there are two things here that are possibly worth of note. And the first one is that her belief that she is linked to an ancestry with ancient Greek warriors. And, you know, it's a vague enough term that it could very well just be, you know, actual, like, real-life Greek warriors. But I think what makes this interesting is that Gill and Urien and the society themselves all have a lot of Greek themes and influences throughout them, which, you know, I covered a bit earlier. Gill and Urien and the society have always kind of had these kind of links to ancient Greece themselves. So, you know, they're not going to spoil what happens on the website. So this could be a cover story of sorts in terms of, like, you know, maybe hiding a little bit of what's actually going on here. And that, in this sense, the ancient Greek warriors that are mentioned in the bio could actually instead be ancient Illuminati warriors. So that's something to go off maybe. The other part that I think is probably more interesting actually is the part about Marissa's vision of, you know, a Colosseum in its prime. And, you know, on its own this could kind of be whatever, but I think using Gill and the Secret Society in mind, I think what's interesting about this is that more so in Street Fighter 5, I think where this is a thing, but a thing about Gill is that he kind of is able to see the desires of the people he meets, you know, able to see their desires and see that deep down what they truly want. And he does this throughout Street Fighter 5. A lot of his win quotes are basically him telling other fighters like what it is they secretly desire. Like, I think he tells Birdie that he secretly desires a world without famine, and, you know, Gill's like, oh, if you come with me I can give you that, you know, typical cult stuff. And it's implied throughout some of his lines, again in Street Fighter 5, that Gill does this by using something called the Gate of Harmony. And it's never really explained what this is, but if the Gate of Harmony is something that Gill does use to, you know, see the desires of the person or the people he uses it on, I think it's perfectly possible that Gill used the Gate of Harmony on Marissa and was able to see that, oh, she wanted, you know, a Colosseum in its prime, that her kind of knowledge or her assumption that she's linked to these ancient Greek warriors, and Gill kind of used the Gate of Harmony to be like, oh, you know, you want this, and kind of like, you know, kind of twist it in a way like, you know, like how Gill usually does, because Gill is a quite twisted manipulator throughout the series, and, you know, done that in a way where it's like, oh, okay, I'm going to show you your own desire, but do it in a way where it seems almost prophetic. And Marissa kind of maybe jumped on that and basically just started worshipping Gill like other people in the series have done. Like, I think in Colleen's character story, like how, you know, that initial relationship with Gill starts where you're just completely like enamored by him and his divinity. So all in all, I'm actually starting to think that, you know, Marissa might actually be involved with the Illuminati in some way. And even if she's not like actually a member of the society, I definitely think she's involved somehow and she has some form of a link. I think the two biggest things that, you know, make me lean that way is absolutely her sharing the same moves. I think just in terms of, you know, fighting games and Street Fighter in general, that's a very common way of visually saying that these characters are related, like when they use moves that are like very similar, if not the same. And the other aspect to it is I am pretty, you know, confident that her gold ability that, you know, you can see throughout her like super arts and her like moveset could very well be one of the 66 secret arts. But again, we'll all have to wait and see. That's kind of what this whole video is really. It's kind of me just kind of like throwing some ideas out there, and it's one of those things where it's like most of this could easily just be like me saying things that aren't there, but when you kind of notice so many things that could possibly be a sign or a tease or a link, you kind of have to start going like, oh, like maybe this is actually deliberate in a way, or maybe this is something that can be spotted by somebody who knows the signs and recognizes the familiarities between, you know, this thing and the thing it might be linked to. But yeah, that's pretty much just this video, really. I just kind of wanted to go over it because I think it's a very interesting topic. But for now, I'm probably just going to leave things there. We'll have to wait and see how this all goes. It'll be fun to look back at this video when the game comes out and see if I was completely right, completely wrong, or somewhere in the middle. So yeah, I'm going to leave things here for now. Thank you all for watching, and I shall see you all later. Goodbye.
We await your return, warrior.